You guys want to call for this one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. Those who have not met, my name is Bert Heeman with Nyer Properties. Familiarize yourself, and it's just 6 slides to click through, so familiarize yourself. This is our Greens of Kenwood property, FBI, Hampton Inn already in sight, Montgomery Road, exit on 71 North. This site right here is what we're talking about. We're proposing a 100,000 square foot Class A office building with a parking garage. We're asking for the balance of the TIF that was promised to this overall site to be applied to this project. We have a 30,000 square foot Class A office tenant, which would be new to Kenwood, which we're proposing, which will kick off the construction of this asset. If you want to go to the next one for me. This is a rendering of what the office building is going to look like. This will continue to increase the class of office building in Kenwood to attract the type of tenants, high-paying jobs, which will contribute to the JED. Next one, real quick for me. Again, this is kind of a rendering of what the entrance will look like. Lobby on the first floor, there will be office underneath, and then a 4-story tenant. This will kind of shield the residents to the back, sits up on top of the pedestal, which is the land. If you're coming from the south, you'll see it'll sit a little bit higher than the Hampton Inn. The attractiveness of this building is going to bring tenants from outside of Kenwood, similar to what the Collection did, the Towers of Kenwood did, as well as Redstone. If you go to the next one for me real quick. Kind of a rendering. This is one concept of the interior of the lobby. Again, modern Class A finishes. And we've seen quite a bit of positive feedback from the tenants that we've spoken with. And again, we have commitment from one tenant to move into this building, which will kick off the project for us. And again, this is another concept, kind of more of a wood and glass silver rendering, very similar to the finishes you'll see on the inside of the Collection and Redstone, which again is what these new tenants are looking for. This particular tenant that we're talking to is ready to move forward with us, which is why we're here this morning. We need to advance this schedule in order for us to deliver this building to them by Christmas of 2020.
Okay, Greg, do you, actually, I guess Brenda, you were looking into some of the, to the TIF and where we were on it. Do you want to give us a little update on?
Well, I just did some very rough review based on information on the auditor's website, which hasn't been, verified and confirmed with Greg's records or the township's records in terms of what has been brought in or what will be brought in. But based on whole compensation to the school district, which I believe is what we mentioned at the last meeting, happens. The proposed project would bring in, where did I put that? Approximately $144,000 in annual TIF revenue off of one office building valued at $17 million. That's assuming the auditor values it at construction value. And again, I haven't done any checking to see how close Dusty's valuations are to actual construction cost. But if it's valued at $14 million, just for comparison purposes, it would bring in net of school comp about $118,000. And for the remaining time on the existing TIF, debt service on bonds, again, just guesstimating an interest rate because we don't know what that will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $220,000 a year. So the office building net of school compensation by itself will not support the parking garage in all likelihood, unless for some reason we get a really, really good interest rate, which we're not expecting, or it's valued at more than we're expecting it to be valued at, which is not usually the case in the early years. So excess from the other existing projects in the area would have to be used to support debt service on the parking garage. Currently, the Hampton Inn Hotel is bringing in a little bit of excess based again on preliminary estimated figures. I think I figured they're bringing in about, sorry, it was not,
Is the current, the value of the hotel, is that in the $10 million range? Do you know, Brenda?
the hotel, I have that. The hotel is,
Can I just ask, Jim, do you know the whole background behind this whole development?
Oh, no, I know everything, I know doing it.
I mean, in terms of the FBI was involved in it,
Yeah.
that you're familiar with?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
But
I just wanna make sure you know
all
the
the numbers I
history
don't, the numbers I don't know.
that's there.
Yeah.
I have all the parcel.
I
The
think-
hotel is currently valued at 11 million,
11 million, okay.
with a TIF value of 10.7 million,
Okay.
okay, on that, and so,
And the FBI, is that still 23 or 24 million?
the FBI is total market value, yeah, this is a little interesting. The FBI building has a total market value of 24.69, almost 24.7, with an exact same TIF value. There's no base value attributed to the FBI parcel, which is extremely strange. That there was not some base value, so for some reason, when the parcels were consolidated, split, whatever, they attributed zero value to that parcel.
For the land,
Right,
yeah.
it's, go figure, but they've assigned all value to the TIF on this particular parcel. Highly unusual, but that is where we are on that. So the hotel parcel, because the hotel parcel, the township contributed about $1 million to stormwater improvements on the hotel parcel. So after we take the hotel revenue and net out repayment on that at an assumed rate, which is set forth in the service agreement at 3% on a repayment of that. There's a prescribed schedule in the service agreement for that. There's about 30, I think, did I send, 30,000 in excess coming off of that per year. The FBI site, 2 million in bonds were issued for the road, the Ronald Reagan Drive Road. And so paying that bond debt service, and again, for various other reasons unrelated to the TIF, those bonds were defeased last year. But the township took the money to defease the bonds out of another fund that they have to repay over time from the TIF revenue. So after repaying the road debt service, there's about 93,000 in excess coming off of the FBI site annually.
Okay.
So the excess from the FBI site and the office building,
For the hotel?
and the office, because we have another problem, would pay for the new issue. However, the township also spent additional money for the land acquisition, for the road, and for some other related improvements. They paid about $1.5 million in cash for. And there's no accounting in the current revenue stream. Well, there is in the current revenue stream if you take the FBI money and the excess from the hotel to repay the 1.5. But then that leaves no excess to go towards the parking garage for the new office building. So I don't know where the $1.5 million came from or whether the township intended for that to be repaid. So that's an open question as to whether or not the excess from the hotel and the FBI is available to go towards the parking garage, or whether it needs to repay the $1.5 million. And that's a question I can't answer, I don't know.
Greg can answer that.
Yeah, so the $1.5 million cash was never intended to be repaid, so that's gonna be available. We did this analysis 2007. The numbers were based off of 200,000 square feet of office, and they were fine. The 100,000 gets tight. Now, the FBI is interesting. We put the FBI value at 23 million, that's pretty much where it sits. It's a very interesting case there, because that building was built for a lot more than 23 million, so why Dustin decided that it was worth that is very, very curious to say the least. The hotel's performing better than we expected. I put the hotel in at 8 million as part of the base value. So you're gonna have to bring revenues from the TIF district, and that's a bad term, but that particular area there. If you wanna make this work with 100,000, you have to bring those revenues in. If they build a second 100,000 square foot building, then you have sufficient revenue off of just the 2 office buildings. But again, we don't have borrowing costs, we don't have interest rates, there's still a lot of work to be done, to push this thing forward.
And I misspoke, the 93,000 is the total of excess between FBI and the Hampton Inn.
That seems about right.
The Hampton's about 18,000 in excess, and then the FBI is about 75,000 in excess.
Couple other things, maybe just to know for the benefit of everybody here. Brenda mentioned, and rightfully so, with the auditor, you really don't know for certainty what the valuation is going to be. But the adjacent building, the towers of Kenwood, if you will, recently traded for $180 a square foot sold, and that's obviously a much older building, 30 years old. So it would be hard to argue that a new building with all the amenities wouldn't be successful on our part, much likely to argue in front of Dusty Rhodes to say a new building with all the improvements is worth less than a 30-year-old building that's immediately adjacent to that. So
Right now, the kennel collection's valued about $195 a foot, so $200 a foot's not out of the realm of possibilities. When we did the analysis originally, we put $150 in for the value, so, I mean, I think there's certainly merit if the board so chooses to go forward. It's obviously a two-step process. You have the zoning aspect of things, and then you have the tax increment financing piece on it, so, unless you want to stop it dead in its tracks, then there's no reason you shouldn't go forward with the zoning. And then we can delve deeper into the TIF, and we certainly would have that information by the time. The earliest this could roll to public hearing, we're probably talking October, right? Because we're talking, it'd be August.
Yeah, the
August
already
zoning
submitted
commission.
all their application and the plans. I haven't reviewed them yet, but they've submitted them.
So you could potentially see it, or 1st of September to trustees for public hearing. I think we could probably have a pretty good
I think,
indication
as I
on
recall,
the TIF.
if I'm not mistaken, it will be heard at your August meeting, and we have a workshop that next day, if I remember correctly.
12th and 13th respectively.
Yeah.
If
So
But
it's
you
there,
could
we
hear
could
it for
hear.
public hearing. The earliest you can hear for public hearing is September.
Oh, you're right, you're right, I'm sorry.
September 4.
Right.
timing is important. Effectively, with the tenant we have in tow, so to speak, their lease expires the end of 2020, which, and there's a lot of work, obviously, with building a garage and an office building, so timing is very important for us to be able to accommodate the tenant. And I believe, Brenda, you'll certainly correct me if I misstated, but I think all the numbers that Brenda went through is just for the TIF. It doesn't recognize the value currently and what we receive as far as JED payments. Is that
We could have the TIF work through by the September fourth, that's not a problem.
We already, Jeff, why don't you go through what agreements do we have in place, or what do you believe we need to modify, since we already have a lot of documents in place?
Yeah, there's a service agreement which is already in place, which was signed in 2012, I believe, and I think I sent that around after we talked the other day. So that was put in place for the million for the stormwater improvements initially, but also references the 7 million in total, plus the road improvements. So I think a lot of the pieces are in place. I mean, obviously Doug and Brenda will tell us exactly what documents we need, but perhaps an amendment or a supplement to that document, something relatively simple, because a lot of those pieces in my mind are already in place. The TIF, the site's already in the TIF, it's already been, actually the land is already partially contributing to the TIF. So I think a lot of those pieces are already in place. We're just really looking for that support for the 3.1, so that we can sign a lease with the tenant, complete the drawings, and move the project forward.
Usually the big slowdown on these, as far as getting the tip through, is the notice that is required to go to the school and they have to go through their steps. I believe we're already there on this. They've already approved this. And it's already in the TIF, so it's probably just a matter of amending whatever service agreement we have on that to reflect the new reality of, I believe the old service agreement says there's supposed to be 200,000 square foot office building. We would want, I think, to amend that to provide for this 100 and the second 100 to come, but.
Well, you just have to rework.
Most of the
service.
stuff, most of the stuff's already in place, so it's just a matter of.
It's a matter of flushing out the final details as to what the values are going to be, how the debt issuance is going to be, and going from there. And we don't have to reestablish the district, legislation's already done, all the purposes are already determined. It's a matter of just borrowing money going forward. That's where we have to get the answers on about what it's gonna cost, how it's gonna work, and everything else. Our point is, in the next 3 weeks, we can certainly have the information you need to make your decision.
Now, your numbers were different than Brenda's numbers. You gave hers was, you were 23 million, she was 24.6 million.
Right, my numbers are 10 years old, that's why.
Okay, so.
So the FBI is performing better than we had in the initial analysis of what it took for generating. Brenda took the most current numbers. Mine were theoretical based on the potential of the development, and they're pretty good.
And as I recall, we were pretty conservative with those numbers as well.
We're always very conservative. They're not-
Well, and as far as the value being less than what they spent on it, I think, they said going in, they're gonna be spending a lot of money on that building for security features that do not do anybody else any good if the building were to be sold. So probably a lot of that cost that went into that building really isn't being applied by the auditor because it's overbuilt, let's put it that way.
That might have been done.
I don't know what the security features are, but I can remember them saying that back when we did the thing. I think the real commitment from the trustees is right now, the balance remaining to be spent on the TIF is like 3 million or 3.1 or 1.5. And for that, there were supposed to be 200,000 square feet of office. What the developer is saying is, we think we can probably get there, but we need to get 100,000 square feet built first. And we need the garage and the rest of the TIF to do that. And I know in discussions with them, their position was, once we get this building up and operating, it'll make the second building easier to get developed. That's just, if come basis, but I know that's what their feelings were. So it's a matter of using the entire rest of the money that was put into the deal to get this garage up and get the rest of the project moving.
But what we're saying at this point is that we would have to direct access from the other two parcels to the debt service on, to cover the current, the additional debt here, correct?
Well, essentially, yes, however, let us run a full analysis on it and give you all the information you need.
Yeah.
I think, Jeff, you guys are saying you're gonna build a garage for the 100 for the hotel, plus the second 100,000 building, so this garage will be big enough to support a second building, correct?
Yeah.
No, we're
We'll
gonna-
need another garage.
We're gonna have about 450 parking spaces in total now with the building that's shared with the
But you're
hotel.
covering the hotel in this phase.
Covering the hotel in this phase, and then the future building will be built over top of basically that existing parking lot.
I got you.
So you're really not covering the hotel in this phase because you've already got it covered. You're not, you already got the 100 allocated spaces, so,
They're effectively already
yeah,
using that.
you're already there.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So the 3.1 is being proposed to be allocated to build 100,000 office, which the service agreement calls for 200,000, correct?
Service agreement calls for 200,000, that's correct.
Well, but the 3.1 is gonna be spent on a parking garage, not an office
Right.
building.
But the parking garage will not be sufficient for 200,000.
The proposed parking garage will not service 200,000 square feet of office, correct? They'll need another parking garage when they do the second office building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
So do you want us to move forward with?
Yes. Okay, good. Let's do the analysis, let's find out what's wrong.
But, I mean, let's take a vote to yes, as long as the numbers work out, we're in favor.
Well, we're not gonna vote anything now anyway, because they gotta go to P and Z first.
Okay.
They're already at P and Z, so why don't we go through the process and.
Yeah,
There's no reason to vote.
there's no reason, but there's no reason to not go forward.
Right.
in
So you're just,
in
you're giving
preparation
us
for
direction to
September.
move on it and
Yeah.
report back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's in agreement.
Absolutely.
All right?
So we'll see this in September.
Well,
That's what
I
you're.
mean, that's our time frame, but a lot can happen between now and then.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public speaking opportunities. I asked Greg to bring this up.